Hey, I know that there's a lot of things to be critical of me for, and I accept that. I've not always made the best decisions, but I've always tried to learn. Always tried to not repeat mistakes and give grace. Truth is I'm trying to do things to build a decent future, and this remodel here is to give a place for people to, come and have conversations and just do things like, build the future, just build the future in the best way that we can. And we do that by conversation. That's how it starts. Finding solutions through conversation.
I'm Matt Logan, the host of This Matters in Real Life. Oh, hey, stay tuned at the end of this. I'll give you some more information.
There's a lot of controversy on Djokovic vaccination, isn't there?
He's kept his name on the radar.
He has.
Yeah.
And good
It's a
for
big
him.
name.
It's a big name.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, have you heard of him?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, we're not going to talk about him. I'm just curious if you've heard of him about vaccination stuff.
Yeah, he was vocal about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Hadn't had any real change. Oh, no, he did win once. I think Djokovic is on like 21.
Yeah, 20.
championships.
Yeah, he's
20.
working on 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive player.
Very impressive. He probably has a little bit of knowledge and insight into what you should do with your body.
During the recording of the following podcast, no Democrats, Republicans, actors, chemists, dogs, cats, well, you get the idea, were harmed. However, it has been said some have been offended by the opinions seen and heard here. Oh, and please remember to pull clips out of context.
Sorry. I'm sorry. We thought you were someone else.
Yeah, I would say he's probably pretty conscious of what he puts in.
Consume. Like,
Himself.
I mean, he may have even come out and said he looks at what water he puts in his body.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably not drinking swamp water.
Athletic drinks. He literally talks about that. So this controversy on this clearly talented, clearly intelligent person
Undeniably, yes.
is saying, I'm going to leave money on the table and I'm not going to get vaccinated. He said, it's not the right thing to do for me.
Money and championships and records.
Absolutely.
Record-breaking opportunities. Yeah,
Craig,
because of his feelings.
thanks for being here again.
Thanks for having me. It's always a good time.
It is. They're fun conversations for sure. And we kind of, if we're going to have conversations like this, which the reality is these conversations are happening every day. Not so much at the quote unquote water cooler as they used to.
No, because you get in trouble.
Right. Yeah. But these conversations are happening every day, and people are looking at these things and they're wondering what is true, what isn't true on all this stuff nowadays. And it's like when this elite professional athlete comes out, I mean, you don't get much better than this.
No, when he's undeniably one of the best tennis players ever.
Yeah.
Looking at his track record of 20 championships, he knows what he's doing. He's good at it. He's great at it.
Yeah. And so he has a lot to lose.
Yeah.
A lot of money to lose.
Well, probably. I mean, what he's got is his, unless he is in Canada and they would seize his bank account. But potentially, what he has to lose in the future for continued championships.
He already has lost money, a lot of it.
Okay.
The Australian Open.
True.
That's done, gone. They kicked him out.
Right.
And, not only that, he actually followed the rules according to their rules.
Got permission to be there.
Yes. And then they're like, nah, just kidding.
Yeah, now that you're here, you have to go away.
Right. So I think it's important to really pay attention to things like this. I love that an athlete like this has come out and said, he drew the line.
What are we talking about?
The vaccine.
Well, the player. What's the background on Djokovic?
What's his background?
What's the background on the story?
Oh, sure. So, well, he
Not everybody's a tennis fanatic.
Good call. He actually decided not to get the vaccine.
Okay.
He got COVID in December.
I think he's had it twice, right?
I'm not sure because according to the CDC, it's really, really rare to get it twice.
Interesting.
So,
I've known a few people that have had it twice, but
then again, then that would go down the rabbit hole, the PCR tests and all the false positives that were there. You know, there's one of the companies are being sued because, you know, they basically sent out a whole bunch of tests that were essentially positive. You know, so anyway, you know, we could go down that path too, but we'll stick with him.
By the way, full disclosure is we both have master's degrees in sarcasm. So.
That's true.
Anyway,
so he went in and they said, so the Australian Open said, well, if you've had COVID, you come back with a negative test, you don't have to have the vaccine. You know, that's where this all started. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, all right, here I come. He went there. He sat there for 2 weeks. They said, yeah, well, no, we're going to pull your visa. They pulled his visa, kicked him out.
And he's Serbian, I believe?
Serbian,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, he's hoping that he can play for a lot more years. He's hoping that some of these things will kind of blow over, not his words, mine. But the reality of this is that he said possibly, see, the thing that irritates me the most is people say he's an anti-vaxxer. He came out and said, look, I had all the vaccinations as a kid. Mm-hmm. If they make sense, that's great. The COVID-19 vaccine in the future, if it changes, if it works where I think it will work for me personally, I'll take another look at it.
Right.
So he says, I'm not anti-vax. He said, I'm just not going to take the COVID-19 vaccination because it does not make sense for me.
Which, it's interesting because it seems like a lot of people that don't want the COVID vaccine have similar thoughts. But he's on a whole nother level because this is probably one of the most fit people in the world. He's one of the best athletes in the world. He's in great shape. Probably has a really good immune system. So I'm guessing that his thoughts are his body can fight off what it. That's going to be twisted. That's going to be taken out of context. But he's a healthy individual without underlying conditions. So my thought, if I had that situation with my physical attributes, I think it would be justifiable to not take the vaccine if you're healthy.
Right.
Just like, the risk for children when probably on a hand or two you can count the children that have died from COVID. Maybe
it's not from COVID either. A lot of the cases that I saw, the children that they labeled as COVID deaths were not COVID. That COVID was part of it, but they had other conditions.
Underlying conditions.
Well, not even underlying. I mean, conditions that were known.
Okay.
And they got COVID. Their body couldn't take kids with cancer.
It was
it's
straw.
extremely sad.
Oh, absolutely.
Extremely sad. But the reality is COVID had almost nothing to do with them. The ones I read about. The CDC's coming out with all kinds of information that is used to be conspiracy theory. That is now reality. It's kind of weird how that happens. But so when you have a top athlete like this, an elite professional athlete.
Elite. Like best in the world.
Like it doesn't get better.
Yeah.
I want to listen to a guy like that. Right? I want to hear what he has to say.
He's not a doctor, but he does have an opinion.
Right. And so they're looking at all this information. They're saying, okay, I've had it maybe twice, and survived. Not only that, there's no he doesn't have the long COVID that some people get, which some people get bad effects from pneumonia long term. It's reality. So
I've got
so
a
this
family
is all
member that had COVID a year ago and still can't smell.
sure.
He's a doctor. Not that that matters, but
Yeah.
it's. I mean, there are. I don't think anybody's denying that COVID is real.
No, but they're trying to
not.
make it seem that way.
Right.
That you get
Conspiracy
these.
theory stuff.
Yes.
Or tagging people as conspiracy theorists. Gosh, now I'm having that syndrome.
I know, man. This morning, neither of us can talk.
Right. Conspiracy theorists because we don't necessarily believe what we're being fed.
Right. Has nothing to do with anything other than asking questions. What
Right.
about this? What about that? How about the other thing? All those questions that used to be answered.
Without doubt.
Right. And the answer a lot of times is, you know what? We're looking into it. We have research to do. There's, we might know more in a year or whatever else. That's the way it used to be.
Right. We're not sure, but this is what we think.
Yes.
Not
The
this,
fact is,
and then a week later, well, now it's this, and then
yeah. So it gets to be a very disingenuous leadership narrative, I would call it.
it's a fancy way to call it.
It
but
is.
I like
It's a little fancy, I guess, but
no,
I've been
it's-
practicing that all week.
Yeah, well, you're better read than I am.
But the thing with this is when you have to look for this kind of information, right? This isn't mainstream news. The most mainstream news that this came from was Forbes.
Interesting.
Everything else you had to dig into, and all these other things that it's like, this is what's happening. This is his opinion. I heard he did an interview on the BBC, but obviously that's not in the United States. So, there's that.
We're not going to see that over here unless
And
you
we
look
won't.
for it.
Yes, exactly. And so, but yet what you do see over here is the negative side of it. You've seen like this guy's an anti-vaxxer. He's causing trouble. He's not following the rules, all those other things. That's not the case at all. And I'm so worn out by that. I'm so worn out by that narrative. I'm so worn out, frankly, by told you so. Like, I came out from the very beginning of this in March of 2020 and had stuff pulled off. Like, I described masks in a podcast episode in early April, or it aired in early April. Mm-hmm. And they pulled it off because I described what different masks did, because for 20 years I was in the furniture making business, and I knew what masks would do for dust and the lacquers and all those things. I knew all of that. I had to.
You had to. It was your livelihood.
Yeah. So, I just literally was talking about what experience I had, and they're like, no, pull it. Facebook and YouTube and
Wait, was that by the fact checkers or the opinion censors?
No, they pulled it off altogether. I don't know.
Completely.
And I one of them they put back up, but the other one they wouldn't. So,
Okay.
One of the conversations I had was literally with a family doctor, Dr. Scott Jensen. They pulled that. And he's only been a doctor for 30 years, whatever it is. And so we were just having a discussion. We weren't saying this is what you should do or shouldn't do. We were just discussing it. That's what a podcast is a discussion.
We're
And
not
so-
experts. Well, Scott's Dr. Jensen, kind of an expert in health because he's a medical doctor.
Right. And so
this is the same Scott Jensen that has proof that some of the COVID deaths were actually like car accidents. And
yeah, he's come out
things like
publicly
that.
and asked for a state audit
Interesting.
and stuff. Yeah.
So he's pretty thoughtful person.
Yeah.
Does his research.
For sure.
Okay.
When that kind of stuff starts happening, I'm going to start asking more and more questions. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting. People who I follow and who follow me, they've completely now in the last week or so dropped the whole vaccine narrative. You don't see him saying anything about it. You don't see him saying anything about masks. Any of it. It's gone. It disappeared. And maybe that's because we have athletes like this that are standing up and they're saying, look, here's what I know as an athlete. Here's the research I've done for my person, and that's what I'm going to do. That's my decision. I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. That is my personal decision. And so for me, this is a pretty bright light that he's shown on what is happening with this mandates, and it's follow the money, and he's putting his money on the table and saying,
Big time.
I'm going to leave it over here. Maybe I can come get some of it later, but I'm not taking the vaccine.
Yeah, and devil's advocate. He's got money in the bank. I am sure that he is fine for life, but he's giving up the opportunity to break records, stop doing what he loves, his passion. I mean, you're not going to play tennis that long if you're not passionate about it.
Right.
All because of what he believes in.
Yeah.
That's pretty admirable.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people will say it's stupid because, they don't believe they don't agree with what his thoughts are. I mean, that's fine. That's their opinion.
Right.
But those are pretty big sacrifices to stick to your guns.
Absolutely.
Give him credit for that.
Absolutely. So, again, go research, do some digging if you're interested in what he has to say about it. We're not going to just quote everything he said for sure, but we just wanted to weigh in on our opinion on this controversy because I only was hearing the negative side of it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, there's got to be more to this than this negative narrative, right?
Right.
And so you start looking, and you all kinds of different quotes from him that he has really been vocal about it. He's apologized for some of the things that he's like, I kind of screwed up on this thing in December. I didn't know I was positive for COVID at the time. I did have a test done, found out later, blah, blah, blah. So he's come out and said, hey, there's been some things I haven't done quite right here. Mm-hmm. And that's great. That's admirable.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody else that does a lot of podcasts.
Who's that?
Some Joe guy. Some Joe Schmo. Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember Joe the Plumber?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just a
and
common working man.
So it's like if you make a mistake, that's great. Admit it, own up to it, be responsible, but also don't bend the knee to a narrative that doesn't fit for your person.
Right.
This vaccine literally, with what's been happening to some of the athletes that have been taking it, it could literally kill him.
Or end your career.
But let's...
Or die, yeah. I mean, there is that. Yeah.
So, hey, thanks so much. I just recently talked about how you are the advertising budget. There's no money in this for us. We do this because we enjoy the conversation. Craig wants to be famous one day, but we'll see where that goes. I don't know.
One day, I already am. What are you talking about?
That's right. I want to be no. No, this is literally a mission. We talked about off camera that there's so many people that do things as a grift. They're trying to just navigate things and do it for money. They'll say whatever. They'll be as hyperbolic as they need to be. They'll change, like the person I just mentioned. They'll change what they do and say because it doesn't fit the bank account.
Yep. And
that's not what I do. I screw up.
Every day.
I learn.
Me too.
How do you know I screw up every day?
Me too. That's my wife.
But I try to learn from it. I try to take responsibility for it, all those different things. And so I made a promise that I would try to look at things from an objective, as objective as possible, meaning take all the information from all the sides that I can get my hands on. And make a decision for myself.
Yeah, and I think we do a good job of that. I mean, I try to for sure of, be devil's advocate of other opinions and other ways to look at things. I think we're pretty conscious of that.
And hey, I'm going to say this: people tell me no constantly. So if you're watching or listening, you want to be a guest, send me a message. There's a possibility that can happen. Don't just be a thumb warrior. I don't do thumb wars. If you want to share an opinion with me, with Craig, let's talk about it. Maybe we can put you on the show. Because I get a lot of pushback not a lot anymore, but because I've been vocal about it, but plenty of pushback saying, well, you only talk about one side or you only have one type of guest on. Well, let me tell you this. Those are the guests that have said yes. I can't put a guest on here that say no. I'm asking people of all kinds of political views. I'm asking all kinds of people with just different views than I have all of the time. Frankly, most people don't even message me back. And that happens on both sides, but pretty typically the right side seems to say yes. That's not my fault. So with that said, thanks for being here, Craig. You're going to say something?
I was, and I think, we're both very open to others' opinions, and as adults, I think we can all agree to disagree and still talk to each other.
Absolutely.
And have adult conversations and not hold grudges. And I would love to have guests that have opposing opinions, and I know that I am not right on everything that I think or believe.
I'm not right on almost anything.
Let's have that conversation.
Yeah. I have as kind of a motto, that my intention is good faith conversations, solution-based conversations.
At least open conversations for sure.
Yeah. And solution can be that place of agree to disagree. That's a solution.
Yeah.
And
that's perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you haven't done so yet, hammer the like button, hammer the share button, be our advertising budget for us. Tell your friends. I know we're not that good at this, but, we have strong opinions.
But they're not set in stone.
No. See you next time.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to this conversation that I just had. I was very honored to be a part of it, honored to be the host of This Matters in Real Life. I think it's extremely important to cover a lot of different things and topics and get people's opinions. When my daughter died in the car crash 10 years ago, I said that's what I would do. I would look at the answers, I would look at the truth, and I would make sure that they would intersect. They would not divorce each other. It's so often that we want answers that are not the truth. We want answers that are comfortable. We want answers that make us feel good. Well, there's a lot of things in life that it's not the case. So who am I? Well, I am you. I'm no different than you are. I eat and sleep and, all the different things. Same thing that you do. I hurt. I feel joy. I've had a lot of experience, probably just like you. I work hard, probably just like you. One of the things that you can do to support us is go to shinybrandmerch.com, where you'll see things like the sweatshirt that I have on. I'm a full-time, a truck driver. What do I deliver? Well, I deliver trucks. It's a little bit different of a gig than a normal truck driver, yes, but I am what would be considered a commercial vehicle transport specialist. So about 5 to 6 days a week, I deliver trucks. I get into a truck, I go 2,000 miles, I deliver it to its new owner, I get on an airplane and I go find another one. Nothing real glamorous unless you make it that way. And I've decided that I would have a lot of conversations along the way, and some of those conversations I'll be able to share with you. Again, hey, thanks for your support. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.